afternoon, everybody. I'm Craig from Yorkshire Mesmac, back with another part of the Pride in Our City project. And today we are joined by...
Hi, I'm David Eldridge. I'm the chairman of the whole Roundheads, but I've also been involved in helping Pride with Film Festival last year, getting involved when it was 50 years for 50 Queers Festival back in 2017. And yeah, I've been involved in Whole Pride since about 2004.
Fantastic. So we've had some conversations previously, David, where you talked about your rather extensive experience of going to Prides. So do you remember your first Pride, and do you want to tell us what it was like?
Yeah, my first Pride, I think, was going along to Manchester Pride, was when I was a student, just coming down. I was a student at St Andrews, so it was a long distance to travel to come and see Manchester's Pride, but just to kind of see the spectacle of it all, the spectacle of a parade, the streets, Canal Street, absolutely packed. It must have been around the time that Queer as Folk had been on television, and you know, everyone saw Manchester as a kind of gay mecca. Yeah, as a young guy, I was excited to go and see that for myself. So yeah, really kind of level of excitement, level of anticipation of what it was going to be, just buzzing really from seeing that sheer number of LGBT people around me, yeah, realizing just how many people there were. It was amazing feeling to feel part of something and suddenly feel that you belong to something slightly bigger, and it seemed far less scary than you'd anticipated of becoming part of a country of gay people. You really felt like you're becoming part of a community as soon as you went along. It was anxious though. It's like, yeah, how would you start to talk to people? How would you meet people? What would their reactions to you be? But yeah, you quickly felt like you found something quite magical at the end of it, and it was so sad on I think it was a Tuesday morning when sort of woke up and it was all over, and Manchester had returned to being a kind of rainy, dreary self again. So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely an anxious time, I think, when you've not been to a Pride before and you're going to your first one, and in the lead up to that, super amounts of anxiousness. But I would definitely say to anybody watching this, don't let that put you off going to a Pride, because once you get there, that all just ebbs away.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it just evaporates and you just start having a good time, and everyone's happy to talk to you and engage with you. And yeah, one of the most memorable experiences of that first one though was on the Monday night, and we still do this in Manchester, was when they had the candlelit AIDS vigil. So the rest of it had all been party and parties on the streets, and a lot of drinking, and going in and out of clubs and bars and seeing what was happening there, seeing the live acts and entertainment on the stage. But on the Monday night, it suddenly just became very serious, very moving, very real, yeah, just a very effective experience with so many people paying tribute to those who'd lost their lives to HIV and AIDS over the previous years, which of course this was going to be early 2000s, late 1990s. It was so much more part of people's experiences of growing up gay at that point.
Yeah, and I think it's great to see that Manchester still run that AIDS vigil as well every single year. I always make sure when I go to Manchester Pride, it's always going to be the one thing that I'm definitely doing while I'm there is going to be AIDS vigil.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an essential part of just remembering that Pride isn't just a party, but it has this significance in kind of commemorating our history, our heritage, our experiences, and the diversity of those experiences, for bad and for good, and everything we struggled through to be able to get to the point where we can celebrate for a few days each year.
Absolutely. So, speaking of memories then, so what's your most memorable memory of attending Pride in Hull?
Well, the first Pride in Hull that I attended, I've got some photographs that I thought I'd share with you, so I'll call some of those up if that's okay. This comes from my very first Pride in Hull, which was my then partner and myself, Tony, we'd attended. Fuel had only recently opened. I think this was 2004, if I remember rightly, and it just chucked it down that day. It was everything had been set up. The stage had been set up in one of the parks of Hull. We'd all walked to the park in the pouring rain, only to be told basically they had to cancel it because it was just dangerous for all the electric equipment and recording equipment. The rain wasn't going to let up, so we actually moved the entire thing into Fuel that day. This was back when Fuel was kind of bright and white and a really open space to go to. And it was a fantastic day, just because it had to be so kind of ad hoc and made up on the spot as we went along. All of the balloons got transferred in there. I think one of the pictures I've got is of a very young Andy Train with all of those balloons. Let me sort of find that.
Oh, there we go. Look at Andy.
Entertaining the crowd with bubbles. This is when it was really low tech. This is long before we were able to take over Queen's Gardens and have parties there. The fact that you could fit the entirety of Hull Pride inside Fuel shows you how small it was back in the day, and yet how intimate it was and how friendly it was during those experiences. They even took the acts into Pride, into Fuel, to continue their singing and dancing, and I think we carried on till quite the early hours of the morning there. But yeah, that was memorable as the first Pride in Hull, and kind of such a what could have been a disaster actually being turned around by the community, and with a real community spirit for it. We took our picnics into Fuel with us, and all just carried on regardless. So it was quite an experience too. Certainly a memorable one.
Well, if anything else, as a community, it was certainly resilient.
Totally, yeah, and very adaptable. I think that's what that proved that day. Everyone just seemed to have a brilliant time regardless of it, because it is, at essence, it is just about community. It is just about being around with friends. It's about celebrating and extending those friendships. The number of people we met that day for the first time who were LGBT people in Hull, who became friends of ours from that day and henceforth. So I think you said you might have been there at some point.
Yeah, so I remember when I was about probably about 13, 14, one of my friends had said that we were going to this festival, didn't tell me what it was, just said it was some music festival. And then we ended up going into Fuel. I had no idea it was Pride, and then got in there and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I remember staying for a little while and exploring it and sort of feeling, okay, this is amazing. And then the teenage nerves of somebody seeing me that might know me and outing me got the better of me, and I ended up leaving. And we went to the cinema to watch a film that I think it was called Waterboy or something. It was that long ago. It was at the cinema down Albion Street.
Yeah. Oh dear, you missed a good night, but then you would have been far too young to actually have enjoyed
Far too young to have stayed for the partying.
Yeah. I think they were allowed us, kind of special license just to allow people in early in the day, but by 9 o'clock at night, it became over 18s. So great day though. And when it came to Hull's big Pride, the one that we did for City of Culture in 2017, this memory then really informed what we did for some of the models that were paraded through the streets of Hull as part of the 50 Queers for 50 Years event of the parade, the focus of the parade, which the great team from Ducky helped us put forward. And I got really involved in that year as well. I had the time, fortunately, to be able to go along to all the different workshops that they were putting on. And when people like from the Ducky team, this photo here, this is Patrick, who was one of the creators, worked with the Ducky team to create some of the huge models. And of course, you recognise some of the other members of a local community there too, who really took a part in this. I helped in making things like the model of Freddie Mercury, or the great big model of Sir Ian McKellen that went through the streets those days. But the one that we really did, but I spent a lot of time making, was a recreation of Fuel from that 2004 one, including the balloons that we had to bring from the park and put back up in the stage of Fuel, the ones you just seen with Andy there. And somewhere in there, yeah, just around here, is my 15-year-old nephew at the time came along and helped draw some of the figures that some of the gay people who populated Fuel over the years. And this one is his rendering of me back in the day. So, you know, this was kind of a memory of 2004's Pride, put back in the heart and centre of the 2017 City of Culture Pride as well. So yeah,
that's fantastic. I didn't know that one was specific to that sort of event. I thought it was just a general look at it.
All the little things you can learn about the history of Hull's Prides and how they connect with each other. So I'm sure Andy trains in there somewhere. Dave, who used to be the stilt walker and fire eater and everything else that he did as an entertainer in Fuel, was represented there too. He saw that model on the day in 2017. He was really very, very moved by the fact that he'd been his contribution had been recorded for posterity in this way.
That's absolutely fantastic.
But yeah, now I'm run the whole Roundheads, and obviously last year was our first Pride as a team. Whole Pride sponsors the Roundheads as well, which has been fantastic. I think we're the only gay rugby team in the country to be sponsored by its local Pride.
Really?
So yeah, so that's been an amazing thing for them to do. Yeah, most are sponsored by bars and companies, and obviously we're sponsored by bars like the Star and Savile Row as well. But you know, to have, we literally wear Pride on our chest now when we go out there and play. So it was great. We were asked to be at the front and centre of the parade last year. We were on stage with the Lord Mayor doing the YMCA as the flag went out across the audience. But yeah, I was looking back at my memories of past prides as well, and it was in 2005, which again, if I should show you the pictures of this, I was Pride in London. This is me and one of my partners, one of my friends then, and we turned up at the very beginning of the parade, a bit early, just having a look at those people setting up. And we suddenly got called over to ask if we could actually carry the flag, or help carry the flag, this huge flag that leads the whole of the parade. And it turned out the reason that we were needed was that the London Rugby Club, the King's Cross Steelers, which I'd only just heard about at that point, had a few of their members had suffering from hangovers from partying too much the night before. So we were asked if we would actually leave the parade carrying the flag with the King's Cross Steelers. So about 15 years before I set up the whole Roundheads, I was already in a Pride parade with a gay rugby club, little knowing that I was actually going to be chairing one of these clubs in the distant future. So, but that was
works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. It's yeah, that was an immense experience, walking through the city of London, past Big Ben, through round through Parliament and along the Thames, carrying this flag up the front of the parade, being cheered on by everybody who's a part of it. So many people, all around Trafalgar Square, leaning out of buildings on Whitehall, waving their little flags and cheering us on. All the kids that you could see who were excited to look at everything that was going on in the parade. That was my first proper experience of being in a parade. And I think that's really what drove me when we had the opportunity in 2017 and then again in 2018 and 19 to ensure that make the fullest contribution I have been able to make to making the parade in Hull as bright and colourful as possible. It was after we did the amazing 50 years for 50 queers for 50 years parade, which I took part in, as I said, working with these people, carrying all the wonderful creations of Ducky around the city on shopping trolleys and everything else. Then when it was 2018, was all absolutely determined that we should put on at least as good a spectacle as we had done the year before, when we had all those resources of 2017 behind us. That was when I corralled several friends to try and put in as diverse a group as possible to represent all of the Pride colours and carry the flags in the form of balloons behind.
I love those balloons.
So we created these amazing balloon backpacks and these balloon banners with the help of Hull Carnival Arts. As you see, we've got as diverse a range of people as I could bring together to parade these through the streets. I think we became poster boys of Pride as a result of that, poster boys and poster girls of Pride as a result of that. And then, of course, last year we had the opportunity for the Roundheads to take part and become a spectacle in their own right, which I'm sure many of the other team members have talked to you about. But again, there we are, marching through the town. Made sure that some of us, just fittingly for Pride, we walked through dressed as historical Roundheads or our variations thereof, and then the rest of the team in their kit, as I said, wearing Pride emblazoned on their chests for it. So I do think spectacle's a big part of Pride, because it what really draws the attention. But I think even more so than that, what's always been important to Pride for me, since I was there helping carry the flag in London back in 2005, being a part of the parade, being there is one of the most powerful statements I think you can make, because you cannot be any more out and proud than being in the heart of this parade. Nobody is going to mistake you for being straight when you're in the midst of this, waving flag banners, carrying the flag, pushing around a shopping trolley with a model of fuel on it. You can't be more out than that day when you're in the midst of a parade walking on it. I've been a spectator of the parades many times before, but you don't get the same feeling that you do when you're actually in it, walking along on the streets, looking at how people are reacting to you, seeing the looks on kids' faces as they see you walking by the wall. They're waving, they're blowing whistles, they're waving their little flags. And I think then that the most important thing of it all is then for the teenagers, the young people are thinking about their sexuality, thinking about their gender identity. They can see people in front of them who are proud of who they are, of what they represent. They can see the huge diversity of people that are part of our community, and that they therefore feel they can have a place within it too. I think particularly when you see some of the big Pride parades, you see all of the kind of the organisations, the different organisations, whether that's trade unions, whether that's different clubs and bars, whether it's the sort of charitable organisations that provide support for everybody. Those things are really important parts of the parade, and they're to be they're to tell people and to show young people that there is something for them, that there's a huge community for them, there's huge resources for them, that they don't need to feel alone, and that one day they too can be part of this parade when they feel brave enough and proud enough to come out and join in. And I really think everybody, the onus is on everybody who's already an out gay, lesbian, transsexual, queer individual, to become part of a parade, not just stand on the sidelines and wave at it as it goes along or take photographs as it goes along, but actually to join in. Partly because the experience itself is transforming for them, and also it's for me, that's what Pride is all really about, of being there and showing everybody else who you are, and how diverse we all are.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, be on your soapbox all you like. That's what we're here for. So anything else that you want to share memory-wise or picture-wise, David?
Yeah, I think the only other thing I'd add to this is that having been involved over the last couple of years and been in the parades and realizing what Pride has actually meant to me over the years, I wanted to kind of start getting involved in the organisation of Pride as well. And so last year I had the opportunity to start setting up the Whole Pride Film Festival that went alongside it last year, as to see if we can actually make this more than just about the day, but have a whole kind of week of celebrations and reflections on what Pride can mean in such a diverse way. So last year we had the we organised the film festival, ran over a few days. It was hosted on Humber Street. We had a whole series of short queer films, which was organised with support of groups from London in this. We had filmmakers come up and talk about their projects as well. And then also we had a special screening of Some Like It Hot, which was attended by Cheddar Gorgeous, or co-hosted by myself and Cheddar Gorgeous. Cheddar is obviously a major figure on both the UK and the Manchester scene in particular. But Cheddar began in Hull.
Really?
Yeah, Cheddar, also known as Michael, was a student at the University of Hull. Worked at Latitude Cafe Bar for a while when that was opening, and when Hull's sort of gay scene was nascent. And has been a friend of mine ever since. So Cheddar and I co-hosted a screening of Some Like It Hot, and led a panel discussion with various Hull drag queens about how cinema has impacted on their drag aesthetics, their ideas about drag. Yeah, it was a really successful and a very meaningful day for me, since Some Like It Hot was one of the films that got me first started in teaching film studies at the University of Hull.
Fantastic.
And I got to wear high heel boots for the first time in my life.
And they're very reminiscent of kinky boots.
That was entirely it, yeah. Complete reference back to that film. That was probably about the only way I could pull off drag convincingly, was just taking inspiration from that film.
Hey, it works.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I've got the legs for it.
Okay. So moving on to our next question then. So what or who makes Pride in Hull special for you?
It's always been the people who take part in the parade, the people who organise it, those who really kind of make a level of commitment to it beyond just watching it. I think it's very easily, and it always should be, something of a party. It's always in everywhere I've ever been. It's been a musical festival, comedy festival, that side of things, and that's important for showing both the diversity of queer performers, who particularly if they're local, and showing the talent that's around, but also on having some of the kind of major pop stars, or as big as Hull can actually manage to get here, or drag queens with international profiles, to show that they do recognise and support their gay and lesbian fans, their LGBT fans. I think that's important too. But I really think that the key thing for Hull, and indeed for any Pride, is the local community that gets behind it, gets involved, and actually takes part in it. So it's the organisers, it's the marchers, it's that side of thing which is most meaningful to me. Without them, Pride wouldn't exist. And they're the ones who put in so much effort to making this as impressive a day as they possibly can, and as significant a day as they possibly can. Because the important thing is that they are making it as inclusive and as involving as possible, so that people come back from it having memories like I've got, which do live with you for the rest of your life, and encourage you to think very positively about your identity, about your place in the community, to feel that you do belong and there's somewhere for you to belong. So even when you're going through sort of maybe more stressful or difficult times of the rest of the year, you've always got those memories good memories to fall back on.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really nice way to sort of think about it as well, is, when we are on hard times, we've got those memories to fall back on. We can look through our photos and, get those memories going and just get a bit of positivity back as well.
Yeah, and I've met so many amazing people through the various prides that I've been to in communities. Went to Amsterdam Pride last year. I've been into New York Pride in the past, and through those made some fantastic friends. Because it's one day where everybody is very opening and welcoming and joyous. My experiences in the New York Pride, but a friend of mine introduced me to the in-house masseur for Google, who worked for the Google offices, had an apartment, a brownstone apartment that happened to be on Christopher Street, at the very where the parade ended, and where was near where the Stonewall Inn actually is. We were just stood on his fire escape balcony watching the parade as it came by, and then going up and down the balcony, joining little parties that were going on in various different apartments in that block. And everybody was just so open and friendly. So these kind of memories that live with you, and those kind of experiences, it's so much. You don't feel isolated in a situation like that, and you realise that you don't need to. You don't need to feel like you're on your own at any time. Absolutely,
because that's what Pride's all about, is we're not on our own, we're all together.
Absolutely, yeah. And we can be out there. We don't have to be, it really is. I think being part of the parade just demonstrates, you're not ashamed in any way of who you are, what you are, who you love.
Absolutely. So why do you think Pride is important to our city then?
I think it's important to every community, but I think it's very easy for places like London and New York, as I've said, to kind of really dominate people's impressions of Pride. And it's also, I think, very true that a lot of Prides become quite corporate in terms of the big ones, but lots of companies like Tesco's or Skittles or whoever want to kind of buy into Pride and show off their credentials. I think the smaller prides, the ones like in Hull and other smaller towns and cities around the country, are far more important because they're really about the community. They're driven by the community. There's the organisations that are involved are the ones that genuinely support local LGBT causes, because they primarily are those LGBT causes themselves. So I think it's a time for smaller communities to really to show and inspire people. I think that's for me, that's fundamental. Why this great diversity of prides that we have around the country really needs to be supported. And I thought the idea that once a year one of those becomes the UK Pride was a brilliant idea, and I know that was championed by Hull itself in the first place.
Fab. So last but not least then, why is Pride important to you?
So why is Pride important to me? It is just the feeling that I got when I was so much younger, which, as my teammates would say, was quite a long time ago now. But the feeling that I got when I was much younger of belonging, and seeing that even if there were some people there that I knew that wasn't the kind of person that I was. The diversity of Pride is so great, or should be so great, that you can always see kind of your tribe. There you can see people that you can belong to, or people that you might imagine you never speak to or engage with, and you suddenly realize they are just people like yourself, and they're very open and easy to get to know. Said, back in 2005 I was marching along with a rugby club at a time where I had no concept that I would ever be able to play a sport. I had no interest when I was in sports at school, and it was just a coincidence. But it did open my eyes to the fact that there was such a thing as gay rugby. And as I said, now I'm a chairman of a gay rugby club, and can be prouder of all the boys and all the people who've become part of that team. Amazing bunch of people. If I hadn't seen that back in 2005, I may never have been aware that such a thing existed, or that those possibilities existed. So yeah, Pride can be really transformative, and it has been for me.
Yeah, and I think it is for pretty much everybody that goes.
Yeah. So as long as you open your heart to it and jump in on it, don't just stand on the sidelines criticising the acts, because you'd rather see Kylie or Beyonce. That's never going to happen. Pride is what your community makes of it, and it needs you as part of that community to be part of it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me today. Just before you go, if people want any more information on the Roundheads, how can they do that?
Yep, they can find us on social media. We've got Facebook accounts and an Instagram account, or they can find us on the internet. If you just search for the whole Roundheads rugby team, we'll pop up there somewhere. And just get in touch if you're interested in joining us. You don't have to have any previous experience of rugby whatsoever. I never did, and I'm running the thing. So just if you just feel like you want to be part of something and just have a bit of fun. On a Wednesday evening when we go training, whatever the weather, if you're prepared to commit to that, you'll have an amazing experience.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me today and sharing all of your memories and thoughts on Pride.
Oh, thanks so much, Craig.